Hello, and welcome to the virtual tour of our mobile exhibition. My name is Golda Dopovayas, and I am standing in front of the Utah Museum of Contemporary Art's Art Truck. UMOCA, our nickname, is located in Salt Lake City, but if you're not able to get there, we bring the art to you. The art truck is a traveling mini museum. We show contemporary art, which means art made by living artists, the art of our time. And a museum is a place where you can go to look at and be inspired by art, but not to buy it. So today we are going to see an exhibition or art show by a contemporary artist named Aisha Lehman. The title of her exhibition is My Roots, Your Roots. Let's go inside and look at the art now. Welcome inside the art truck. As you can see, we are surrounded by beautiful artwork, all by Aisha Lehman. So even though there's more than one artwork, it's all tied together by one big idea. And that's her title, My Roots, Your Roots. When you think of the word roots, what comes to mind? A few students that I visited at their school have responded by saying that roots remind them of plants, flowers, trees. They also say it reminds them of their cultural roots or their family tree. So your family tree is you and your parents and grandparents. You would be the trunk of the tree, and then it grows out and keeps getting bigger as the branches move out into new generations. Aisha's family tree, the artist of this exhibition, is from Switzerland and the United States. So she herself is biracial. Her mom is Black and Swiss. She was really inspired by her family members from all over the world, as well as natural things from nature like plants, literal roots that dig deep into the ground and make the plant strong. Just like a plant, we are stronger when we understand where we come from and know where we're going and use creativity to help us get there. One of my favorite artworks in this show is Sage. It is a work that's made of paper, pencil, and paint that Aisha created of her friend named Sage. Sage's family is from Chile, and her family speaks English and Spanish. Do you speak another language, or does someone in your classroom speak another language? What kind of experience do they have at school being bilingual? Let's think about that as we turn to Sage and look at how Aisha created this beautiful pattern, the print of flowers that's also behind me as wallpaper. Now we are looking at the artwork titled after the person in it, Sage. Like I mentioned, Aisha used 3 different techniques to create this, and the first one was paint, but she didn't use a paintbrush. She actually used a printmaking technique called a linocut, and I'm going to show you how that works right now. So the first thing you need to make a linocut is linoleum. This is the stuff they lay under kitchen tile or carpet in a lot of homes. It's really bendy and soft enough to carve with a special tool. I have carved a design into this that says the museum's nickname, Utah Museum of Contemporary Art, or UMOCA for short. Then I have the art truck below. So you might notice that my letters are backwards, and that's because when you're carving what we call a matrix, the thing you can use over and over again like a stamp, it flips when you print it. It's called lateral inversion. So when I put ink on this, then print it onto a piece of paper, you're going to be able to read UMOCA on the piece of paper. The first thing we need is to lay down our ink. This is block printing ink, kind of like paint, but a little bit stickier and thicker. So you need to use block printing ink for all of your prints. I'll put a little bit in my tray, and today we're using this pretty teal color. You'll also be able to hear how sticky it is as I roll it onto my next tool, which is called a brayer. This is my brayer. It's kind of like a paintbrush, but it's not spongy and it doesn't absorb any of the paint because we just want to transfer the paint onto my linocut. So now I'm going to roll. Can you hear how sticky that is? Kind of sounds like I'm peeling a piece of tape off of something. So I want to make sure that I get every inch of my brayer. So it looks like I need a little bit more paint. Printmaking completely changed the world when it was invented a couple hundred years ago. Can you imagine living in a world before we had Google or photography? There was no way to see a picture of a giraffe, say, except for seeing it in person. There weren't even any copies of a painting or drawing of a giraffe. So when this was invented, they put it in newspapers, in books, and finally, we could share information that was visual, that you look at instead of just read about. Okay, now I laid down some more of my ink. My brayer is getting more and more covered. Okay, I think it's ready. Now I'm going to put it onto my linoleum, my lino cut. And again, I want to make sure that every inch is covered. Now, as you can see, some of the things that I cut out aren't getting any ink. They're too deep. So this is going to be empty or negative space when I print onto it. I have my piece of paper ready, and I lay down the matrix first, and then the paper. I'm going to gently press it. And here's where the magic happens. When I peel it off to reveal Yumoka, you'll be able to see the letters in their exact right order, instead of backwards. Here we go. Here is my Yumoka print. So you can see that white empty space, that's negative. And whatever got the ink, that's positive space. We can even do another one to compare. Maybe the first one isn't as good as the second one, but that's the fun of printmaking because you can make as many copies as you want. So that's how Aisha created her flowered background. Every single color on that pattern was one carved lino cut. Here's my second one. See, this is even better. Some of the grooves that got a little too much paint before are now fixed, and now it's super crisp. So Aisha chose this flower because it's the national flower of Chile. She wanted to have lots of reminders of who this artwork is of. So Sage's family being from Chile, she really wanted to showcase her family connections and what's important to them. So she also has this chair that has a beautiful dark green pattern that was created with paper. That's called collage. So collage is when you rip up or cut up paper and paste it to your canvas. In this case, the canvas is made of wood. But Aisha chose this deep green because she wanted it to represent Sage's grandmother, who passed away 1 year before this artwork was made. So it shows how important, even regal, like a queen, Sage's grandmother is in their family. The other collage element is on the bottom and the top, and that has handwritten notes that are recipes from Sage's grandmother, written in Spanish. So you can see that she continues the flower pattern, but at the bottom and top, it's made out of paper instead of paint. And the final way that Aisha created this work was pencil. She's a really good drawer. She drew Sage's face and her hands and legs. How do you think Sage is feeling in this artwork? She's looking right at us, the viewer. I think she looks really confident and like she's thinking about something, perhaps the memories of her grandma. Some students say she looks really serious or sad, and other students think she looks happy. So it's up to you to decide.
Hi, I'm Aisha Lehman. Welcome to the My Roots, Your Roots Art Truck Show. I'm so excited for you to see my works, and I'm excited to tell you a little more about why I became an artist. So I've always done artwork, even when I was really little. And I think the older I got, the more I found teachers and mentors that showed me that being an artist is possible and just looks very different depending on what you want it to be. And I was especially inspired by artists that started using their work for community-based work and just looking at issues that affect them and their community. And I realized that's the kind of work that really made me inspired to be an artist. I really love pattern making and drawing figures. I think that's my favorite kind of aesthetic part of doing artwork. But I also really love the research side of artwork. I love reading, and sometimes I think I get a little lost in the reading and forget to actually make artwork about it. But when I remember, I'm really excited to kind of merge the two and merge the things that I like drawing with the things that I like reading about. I hope when people look at my artwork that they'll kind of see themselves in the piece, that they'll think about their own background and their own experiences, but that they'll also be exposed to other experiences that they don't know about or that they haven't thought of before. Most of all, I really hope that people will kind of see a theme, a historical event, a term, or an experience that they aren't familiar with, and that they'll go ahead and go home and read more about it, because looking at the artwork, that's only one little representation of that bigger thing. So I hope it inspires more learning and more understanding. I'm really drawn to patterns because I feel like they really represent human histories and cultures and just our identities. For a very long time in human history, patterns have been used to represent a community's values or individuals' values, and that continues to be the case today. So I think they're a really simple and beautiful and historical way to represent identity. And I love printmaking because I think it's a really great way of using repetition and an organic printing process to show the complexities of who we are, how every community and every person has multiple sides to it and multiple identities. So often before I start any piece of work, I have to do a lot of research beforehand. And a lot of that just has to do with finding a lot of images that inspire me. Sometimes I go to museums and galleries, other times it's in books. A lot of times I find postcards and posters that I think are really exciting and inspiring. I use Pinterest a lot too, to kind of gather a whole library of images that are exciting to me. And I also read a lot of books about themes and issues that are really interesting to me. And I think the more I read beforehand on an issue, the more I can embed different meanings and different metaphors in the symbolism. So there's a lot of layers to that image, and it's not just what it seems like at the beginning. Now you're going to do a little art project that's based off of the artwork that you saw in the truck, in particular the My Roots, Your Roots piece. And so all of us are made up of different components and different experiences and qualities that we have from our family, from the environment that we grew up in, from our race, ethnicity, gender. All those different things make up who we are. And so I have a little example. I did the same piece of paper that you have in the truck with you. For example, I drew Edelweiss flowers that are from Switzerland, because my parents are from Switzerland and we went there a lot when I was growing up. Another thing that I drew was curly hair and freckles, because that's a feature of mine that I really love, that I have in common with my brothers, and that comes from our African American ancestry. Another thing that I did was the mountains in Utah. I love hiking, and they make me love Utah and remind me of home whenever I see mountains. I drew bread and cheese, soccer. I love exercising. And one final thing that I did was drawing a kitchen chair. I really think chairs represent a lot about our identity and places where we learned the most and where we developed the most as people. So that's something else that you could do, is think of a chair that's meaningful to you and your experience. I hope you enjoy the exhibition. Be brave and let the UMOCA teacher know what you're thinking and how your story relates to what you're seeing. Hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about yourself and about your friends' identities, and have fun creating.
Now that we've learned a little bit more about Aisha, you can probably understand her artwork better too. So if you've ever played Twister, you know it's a pretty fun game where you use a spinner and it tells you which color dot to touch and reach for. And by the end, you're in these impossible poses that are really tricky to balance. So if we imagine every single dot on that Twister mat is one thing about Aisha's identity, what would some of those dots be? She really loves art and she's an artist. She's inspired by her research and loves reading. So when Aisha was growing up, she felt like she had to hide certain parts of her identity, things that she wasn't proud of or felt like people wouldn't understand. And it kind of felt like these impossible poses where she was twisting into something that she wasn't. But now that she's older and she's an artist, she is proud of who she is. And every single dot on that mat is something that she loves to share with the world, usually through art, but sometimes in other ways, like her research, being a student, being a family member, an athlete. All of us are made out of lots of different things. We're not just one thing, and we can always change how we think and feel about things as well. So I hope that all of you feel really confident in who you are and you know how amazing you are, so that we don't feel like we have to hide certain parts of that, like a Twister game. So this is real life, and all of us need each other to learn and grow together. Now we're looking at the artwork called My Roots, Your Roots. This is what we named the show after. In Aisha's video, you saw her example of the art project we are going to do right now in the truck. So in ours, we have these empty rectangles. So you have the same composition, but it's up to you to fill it in. So Aisha's included all of the things that make her her. So she loves to study people. That's what she's studying in Chicago. We know that she's an artist. She loves to hike. Something physical she loves about herself is her curly hair and freckles. So think about one thing when you look in the mirror that you love about yourself. Also think about the things that you can't see, like your talents and skills and the things that you love even to eat, maybe. And the other thing is that she drew a kitchen chair. So to Aisha, this is a symbol of a place where you learn a lot. And for her, she learned a lot from her family sitting around the kitchen table. So now we are going to write and draw who we are in these boxes. We'll finish this side of our art project in the truck, and the back side you're going to finish in your classroom with your teacher. They have all the instructions to know what to do, but I'm going to tell you as well, because you as the artist are going to decide what you want to add. So there's 3 elements that are inspired by the sage piece that we are going to add to our artwork. So the first is creating a pattern. Instead of using linoleum to do that with a lino cut, we're going to do it with paper. So cut out a shape that is meaningful to you. This is my example, and my family is Dutch. So in Holland, tulips are really famous. So I cut out the shape of a tulip. Then with that piece of paper, I put it on different pieces on my little canvas and retraced it. I did this 18 times. I decided to fill it in with some colorful watercolors, but you're the artist, so you can decide what to do. Now that I have my background and my print, the repeating pattern shapes, I'm going to draw a chair that is special to me. When I lived near New York City, I loved to go to Central Park and sit on the bench. So that's the kind of chair that I drew. Then the third and final element is a self-portrait. This is different than the sage piece because that was a picture of her friend. A self-portrait is a drawing of yourself. So in mine, I'm reading because that's one of my favorite hobbies. Now that I have these 3 elements, my artwork is complete. So this backside that we do in the truck is to help us brainstorm. This is a really important part of the artistic process, thinking about what is inspiring us and what's important enough to make it into the final piece. So again, we have the print, the pattern, we have the chair, and the self-portrait. Another thing you can think of in this write and draw who you are is what you want to do when you grow up. And we have one piece called Utah that's in the shape of our great state, and it shows people doing a lot of different jobs. My favorite is probably the guy sitting down wearing a birthday hat. I think that sounds wonderful to just celebrate your whole life. But we also have a teacher, musicians, dancers, a dog walker, parents with a stroller, and lots of other jobs. You might see the one that you want to be when you grow up. Now we have one final artwork that's actually made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 artworks. And we're going to talk about why the title is in another language. Now this artwork is also a screen print, just like Twister, but it's made out of 8 parts that kind of tell a story, or at least an action. And it is titled Aussehen, Ansehen. This is a German word, 2 German words, one of the languages that is spoken in Switzerland, where Aisha's mother is from. And it means uncover and cover, or dress and undress. So in this we can see this guy taking off a striped jacket and at the end hanging it up. Or depending on which way you look at it, if you read it right to left, it looks like he's putting it on. So what do you think this striped jacket could represent? What is it a symbol of? You can see all of the patterned backgrounds inspired by nature again. Lots of flowers, even acorns and branches. And this paper was dyed using organic materials like flower petals, tea bags, and avocado pits. Some of the students that I've already visited throughout Utah have had really amazing ideas about what this jacket could represent. And all of them are correct. There's no one right answer. One student said it reminded them that they're allowed to change their minds about things, just like we change our clothes every single day. Another student, I think he was in 3rd grade, told me that it reminded him that every day you should wake up and be proud of who you are. Just like when you put on a shirt or an outfit, you go out into the world and share that with people, and we should do the same, being confident. For Aisha, she was thinking about identity as well. Sometimes the things that are who you are, you can see from the outside, like a jacket, and sometimes they're only visible from the inside, who you are. And you start to learn about that person and their identity only through time and becoming their friend. It's not immediately transparent or visible when you meet them for the first time. So whatever you're thinking of that this jacket could represent, you're right. That's the beautiful thing about contemporary art. There's millions of ways to look at it, as many ways to look at it as there are people viewing. Thank you so much for spending time in our art trek today. Just like Aisha, you can take inspiration from nature, from the people around you, from your family, and from yourself as you create exciting artwork that expresses things you want the world to understand. I hope you're excited to go home or back to your classroom to finish the artwork that we started. Continue thinking about the things that you are proud of, whether you can see them in the mirror or not. Remember that you are a contemporary artist. You are making artwork that the world needs right now, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for joining us today.